where the West begins in Fort Worth, Texas, to around the globe. You are listening to Talk of the Night. And now, your host, Paranormal Phil. Thank you and good evening, good morning, wherever you may be around the world, around the globe, or even in your own backyard. I am Paranormal Phil, and later on in the show tonight, we're going to be joined by not one, but two guests as we talk about psychic abilities, opening the third eye, and their podcast. We are all psychics. I'll be joined by my guests, Lisa Hazard and Misty Laura, and please forgive me if I mispronounce that wrong, but I'll check with you as soon as we bring you on in here in a second. But first up on the Talk of the Night website under the story of the day, and this is a story from last year, but it's still relevant to tonight's show a little bit. So what can psychics tell us, if anything, about the whole health crisis? Demand for psychic service during the pandemic have been heightened. A tarot reader in Los Angeles, Zulma Hamachi, and I probably butchered that name too, chose a card to reflect on things going on in the country. The card she chose was the Tower. She said it was the end of a system as we know it, the end of an era as we know it. Miss Hamachi understood the ways 2021 was upended lives and zapped their optimism. With everyone's fear of everybody, the fear coupled with uncertainty caused a demand for spiritual guidance to soar. A business that is somewhat of a niche, supernatural reading had doubled in April of 2021. Places like Keen and online marketplace for psychics reported a rise in customers. And of course, you can read that full story up on the Talk of the Night website under the story of the day. Just click on the link and it'll take you right to the story. So let's get to the bio for my guest, and I'll let you know about my guest and then we'll bring them on. So for Lisa, I'm a psychic medium and a host of the podcast. We are all psychic. We're all psychics, sorry. I live in North Alabama with my two cats. I love all things paranormal and exploring the mysteries. And for Misty, I love learning about what people think about psychic work. It's amazing to see how they use their psychic abilities in everyday life and help others learn this. As the host of the podcast, We're All Psychics, I feel we all have these capabilities. So please welcome to the show, Lisa and Misty.
Hello, I'm Lisa.
Hello, I'm Misty. And you did get Laura right. You got it.
Okay. Oh, I'm Lisa Russick now. I used to be Lisa Hazard.
Okay. Well, that's what it came up under Hotmail, so for the email for the show. So I wanted to make sure.
No, I probably should have told you that, yeah.
Well, I didn't think to ask either. So, tell the listeners a little bit.
I need to change that.
Yeah. Tell the listeners a little bit about both of you.
Misty, you go first. You're brave. She's an Aries. She's brave.
Yeah, not so much.
Right now, you're totally braver than me.
No, I'm not. No, I think that, like I said, we all have psychic abilities, and, I just love to hear other people's stories and help them, and that also helps me. I work a 9-to-5 job. I'm just a normal, person walking around, nothing exciting about me. But, I do have this passion, and I'm just excited to share it with everybody.
Okay.
And I'm Lisa. I am Lisa Russick. I have known Misty for about a year and a half, maybe. Was it Misty? It's about 2 years now. We met in 2020. We have an interesting story about how we started our podcast. I've been studying the psychic paranormal stuff for a while. And Phil, Paranormal Phil, I would love to talk to you about what you talked about in the beginning of this podcast, if we can get there, about how the business has boomed. I've been in this business for a long time, probably since 2009 or 10. And it's changed a lot. And it's not just the business. Everybody I know, I'm in Alabama. Misty's in Alabama. We're in Decatur and Hartselle. If you know where those are, I'll be really surprised. Because if you do, you have family there.
I know where Decatur is. I don't know about the other
You have family there.
Well, no, I got. No, I had relatives in Birmingham.
There you go. See, you have family in Alabama. So that's really cool. Yeah, Birmingham's pretty cool. It's really close to here. So it's like about an hour and a half drive from Oslo. People here are into it. I mean, all this stuff, witchcraft, psychic, call it what you will. We call it energy work to kind of sum it up in a big lump, but in our podcast. But like in Decatur, we can go into our books a million, and the very front row is body, mind, spirit. It's all tarot cards and books about body, mind, spirit, about spirituality, about opening your third eye, as you put it in the beginning of the podcast. That's where I live. I mean, never been like that. This is a Bible Belt, and I've been traveling, and I see it everywhere. It's just everybody's accepting it. Everybody's open to it now, it seems like. And I really do think we're all psychic. If I can do this, anybody can, really, is how I feel about it.
I got a way of describing how that is, and I'll get to that in the show tonight, too, as well, because I actually coined a term before, I want to say about 10 years ago, maybe more, how to describe to people that don't understand it that each one of us has some kind of psychic ability.
Right, intuition.
Well, I'll describe it now. And for those that have kids listening, please have them tune away because I do not want to destroy their reality. That's not what I do. But the way I describe it, you'll get why I put that disclaimer out. The way I describe it is the Santa Claus effect. And the way I put it is, when we're little, we're told that Santa Claus is real. As we grow older, we're told that he's not real. Well, same thing with the psychic abilities. When we're young, our minds are not corrupted by the everyday world, and we can see and communicate with spirits, but as we get older, a lot of us are told that it's just our imagination, it's not real,
or we're sick,
stuff like that. And that ability gets pushed from our third eye to our deepest part of our subconscious. And it's still there, but a lot of people don't know how to unlock it. Of course, I had my first experience when I was 5 years old, and of course my mom could see spirits, so she kind of validated my experience, so I grew up with the ability.
You got lucky that you had a mother to help guide you.
Yeah, you were very lucky that she understood what was happening. Misty and I have talked about this on our podcast. A lot of children, for example, Santa Claus is real for you kids out there, because when you come back around, he really is. We talk about, like, basically, when we were kids, and she's known people with children like who are in there. We've all heard stories about the children who are psychic, and they remember their past lives, or they can see their grandmother, or they can. Everyone hears those stories. They're on TV. Or Misty's actually seen people like that. I haven't seen a child like that, but she has. It's like, it is something that they are trained, I believe, or we are trained in our culture, because other cultures who are more have different perspectives than ours, maybe in other parts of the world, they're very embracing to this kind of spirituality, that we do have energy work. We have an energy system that, like, with the chakra system, stuff like that. And they work with it, but they use that as spirituality. I kind of think the psychic, if you want to call it that, or energy work or magic, it's just there. It's just there. It's just part of us. It's
it's like an awakening, kind of.
Oh yeah. Now,
but
it's there. It's kind of there to begin with. We just forgot it, kind of like our subconscious, and we didn't even have the word subconscious until like the last 100 years or so. But didn't Freud come up with the term subconscious and stuff like that. I'm not sure if he came up with it, but he like delved into that and kind of made it a common idea that we even have that, you know?
Okay. Yeah, because I don't
And
know
talk
when
about
that
names
was
too.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say I never really looked into when that was really the term subconscious and everything like that was coined and everything like that. But I mean,
I think it was Freud, but I might be wrong. I seem to remember learning that, and he also went into ego and id, and the people accepted it as science in his time, because that was science then, and now people, they call science things that has to be proven in a different way. But this is psychology science, so they accepted that as a science, and now sciences are kind of, not all of them, but a lot of sciences are restrictive, and they're compartmentalized to where they can't allow other sciences in.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that is, you know.
Yeah,
that's what I think anyway.
Yeah, and me and Lisa have talked about this all the time too. Like, for a lot of this, there's no words, you know, in the dictionary for us to say. We talked about it the other day, and I made up the no-nos. It's just when you know. The no-nos. That's all I can say.
The no-nos. It's great. It's perfect.
The no-nos.
So, I mean, like I said, I've had my abilities, well, since I was 5 years old. At least that's the earliest I can remember. And that was back in 1978. Just to kind of throw out my age there. But anyway, no.
Hey, Phil.
Yeah.
I'm older than you.
Well.
You made me feel old. Just kidding. I just turned 47. Just turned it.
Well, I'll be 50 next year, so.
Oh, the big 5-0. The 5 is a number of change in numerology, and 0 is God force.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have a good time at 50.
Like I said, I mentioned that I noticed my abilities when I was 5 years old, and I wanted to ask, when did you all first realize that you had these abilities?
For me, it was really gradual. I thought I was very sick, like from puberty on, but when I was a child, I just kind of accepted whatever was going on. I lived in my own world. I kind of thought I was a cat. I was a weird kid. Around 12, puberty, everything changed. I started getting paranoid and afraid because looking back, I feel that my empathy was picking up what other people were feeling, self-consciousness, fears, being in love, jealousy, all the feelings. And I would take them on, but I didn't know that. And I just was scared all the time and freaking out and having panic attacks, but I hid it. So I finally went to a psychiatrist when I was 21, and they diagnosed me with bipolar disorder. I was great with that because the medicine worked, but then it didn't. Then things got worse. And but all through this, I'm also experiencing psychic phenomena and not knowing what it was. Not knowing. I was experiencing both mental illness and psychic. So there's kind of a weird thing there for me between the mental illness and psychic. I got a really good distinction of it now because I've been steadily on really good medication that works for probably about 10, 15 years. But before that, I was very moody, and I had a lot of psychotic issues. I had delusions, I had hallucinations. I couldn't tell the difference between the psychic and the psychotic. But then when I started finding terms like spirit guide, that's not an imaginary friend, that's a spirit guide, reading about other people's experiences on the internet, finding empath, that term, just what the... Oh my gosh. That's what I do. When I read about Kundalini awakening, I was having one. I was like, there's a thing, this is called something. I was just so excited to know what these things were happening to me. Other people experienced them, and it wasn't, but there was the mental illness component. So it was real gradual, but I finally embraced it and just really went down the road where I am now with the psychic work and with the podcast and everything I do in my life. And the way I approach my life because of a good medication that got me to separate the psychosis from the psychic. I take a different one now, but I found the right medication that separated that for me. And that was at 32. So since then, I feel like that's when I accepted it. And then I slowly accepted it again and again and again. Every day, as I'm pursuing it or accepting it or working with it. So, yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it for me.
Yeah, I love your story. I think it's so inspiring. I really do.
Oh,
because,
thank you, Misty.
So many things have been said about mental illness, and I've always wondered if it does have a connection. Like, they say they're seeing this or they're seeing that. Are they really
shamanism,
seeing it, or are they?
Well, yeah. Well, in shamanism, the schizophrenics were the shamans. They had the same symptoms.
Yeah. So who's to say? I don't know.
I guess I'll say, for me, the medicine worked. Yeah. And then I felt like I could separate everything and sort it out. I do believe that, there's hit it from every angle, whatever everybody's going through. If you want to be psychic and work on that, hit it from any angle. Physical, work out, work with chi, try martial arts, try yoga. If you want to think, study the tarot. If you want to feel, be a medium, go around just feeling other people and trees and animals, and you want to, you can do these things, and you probably already are. That's, where I am. But Misty, tell them your story. What about you?
Oh, Lord. Well, I started at a young age, ever since I can recalling anything, actually. I think I started out seeing, now I know there were angels. Back then I didn't know what they were. And I was probably around 5 or 6 when that started. And then I started having these dreams. And my dreams started coming true. And it could be something very, very simple as to, hey, guess what? My best friend is going to cut all her hair off, and she's going to call me tomorrow and tell me. I mean, just stupid things. Yeah. But I would know it, and I'd be like, wow, how did I know that? And, I also am very intuitive, so emotions really got the best of me. And that caused me to go into a very bad depression, too, when I was younger, because I was taking in everybody's feelings and emotions, and I didn't know what was going on. So that was hard. And, from then, I always felt like I was supposed to, fight some kind of evil all my life when I was younger. And it wasn't till probably the last 2 years I figured out what that evil was. I uncovered, I can't tell a story now because it's just too long, but I uncovered so many things that were happening to me now that made sense when I was younger, and I put it all together. And I'm still learning every day, and, it's fascinating. It's just fascinating.
Yeah, like me, I had mentioned 5 years old, and then I really always had the fascination for the paranormal growing up. I mean, when I was 15 years old, my parents would always go up to Calgary, Alberta, Canada for the Stampede. And most kids at that age, and that was going from California up there, but going up there, most kids that age would want toys or something else to do. Of course, back in the 80s, early 80s and stuff like that, there wasn't all this technology. Yeah. So instead of a toy, I wanted a book on Bigfoot. I always found that fascinating with the strange and unusual. And I guess I was always strange and unusual. I always kept to myself for the most part. I wasn't really a big talker. Didn't really hang out with the popular kids or anything like that. It just wasn't me.
Me neither, yeah.
But, and then...
I got one thing to say about that. Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah. Well, believe it or not, I've had my own... Believe it or not, I've had my own paranormal Bigfoot sighting up in Northern California.
What? You did? It actually happened?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What? Tell me about it. I don't know about this.
Well, I was actually up there working because this is around the time that I really got into the paranormal field, because I've been in the field 30 plus years. Oh. Well, 30 years this year. Although I kind of semi-retired from the field basically 6 years ago, because I was like, it's not where I want to go with life. I mean, I'll still help out on cases and stuff like that, and we'll get into some of that later on in the show as well. But I was up there working, clearing out the logs from the streams as a out in California. It's called the California Conservation Corps, and we would clean out the streams from the loggers so that the salmon could swim upstream and make little ponds for them and everything like that. Well, of course, out there in the middle of the redwood forest, there is no porta potties. So you pretty much have to go out into the middle of the woods. We had a makeshift toilet area, hole dug, and a toilet seat on 2 logs and stuff like that. But I was there, and it was behind a bush, so that way people couldn't see. But I looked up, and about 500 yards away, I saw this hairy creature about, I want to say it was about 12 feet tall. And I know it wasn't human, but as much as I read on Bigfoot when I was 15, I was like, I've heard stories, I've read about it.
Yeah.
I do not want to piss this thing off.
I
don't want it tearing my limbs apart. I don't want it throwing rocks at me and so forth.
But you felt danger. Yeah.
So I was kind of peeking over the hedge like, please don't see me. Please don't see me.
Oh my gosh.
But it just walked off into the thing. And of course, back then, all there was the old 35 millimeter cameras where you had to roll, snap. And of course, back then, that would have really, if it's got good hearing, then it would have heard that. But so I couldn't exactly get film proof of it. I mean, unlike the Patterson film, but
yeah. Do you think he might have been using your privy?
I doubt it.
I don't know. I mean, he might be like, well, he or she. They might have been, hey, what's this? You know, we haven't seen one of these.
Curious.
Check this out. This is actually very comfortable, and we need these. and they were just coming to see, and you were there. Yeah, maybe they're good guys. But I don't know. You had a sense to be afraid because, you know, you said you'd read and, you know, been influenced that they were terrifying. So.
And ever since then, I've even talked to people that have had experiences with Bigfoot and everything like that, where they've thrown rocks at them and stuff like that. Not small rocks, big rocks.
My God. That's not right.
So it's like.
Well, I think the rocks had to be huge if they like intimidated a Bigfoot. I would guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking small boulders.
Really intimidated by that.
Boulders,
Yeah, probably about 50-pound rocks or so being tossed at people.
Yeah.
Wow.
But, I mean, I got my own theories on Bigfoot and everything like that, but that's another show for another day.
I'd love to hear that one.
Wow, that is a
You have to let me know.
Yeah.
Now, let's see, we got about 6 minutes before the commercial break, so let's get into another question here. Now, there are many different types of abilities. Like me, I don't like to use the term psychic. It's just overused, and to me it's overused, and it's more generalized, where I mean, I guess it could be the same for what I use. I kind of use hyper empath because there are different abilities and psychic abilities such as clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, and so forth. But I use the term hyper empath because I do have those abilities plus more. I strengthened my abilities so much that, like I said, I just don't really know how to best else to describe it than hyper.
There aren't words. There aren't enough words. You have a good one. That's great. Hyper empath.
Yes.
I love it. That is just brilliant. I think everybody should identify with something, and you made up a word that somebody who's listening is going to identify with, a term. You know, you develop this for yourself. Somebody's going to identify with
there
that.
are empaths, but not everybody has all that empathic psychic ability, so that's why I said hyper empath, because I want to distinguish myself from a regular empath.
Yeah, like empath plus.
I like it.
Yeah. So I've really, Phil, I've been thinking that, like the very first podcast I made, I was like, man, we need more words. We do. And Misty said that at the beginning of this podcast. We need more words. Like psychic is a general word. That's why I used it, because people understand what it is. You know, like they have judgment about it, or not judgment, but maybe everybody has a preconceived notion when they hear every word anyway. But psychic's definitely one that everybody has a good feeling that they have an opinion on. You know what it is. But nowadays, it's not as black and white for everybody. You know?
No, it's not. No.
You don't have to hide it.
Yeah. No,
in Alabama.
It's well known, especially with all the paranormal TV shows. Back when I started having my abilities, it was more, you kind of had to hide it unless you were on TV like Ed and Lorraine Warren and stuff like that. I mean, unless you were somebody well known, you really didn't talk about it because people thought you were crazy.
Right.
Yeah, so
it's true. That's probably why I thought I was crazy, but I really was too. Not crazy, but I was sick. But at the same time, it's real confusing. But you weren't, so it sucks that you had to hide it. And feel like if you told anyone, you'd be like looked at like, oh, what's going on there.
Well, I really didn't. Like I said, really didn't hide it. I just stuck to myself most of the time, anyway. So I didn't really have to hide it. But no, as I grew older and everything like that, my ability strengthened, and to the point now that I know how to shut it off. Where beforehand, I would not know how to shut it off. Quiet the spirits and everything like that. And there's so many things.
That's the kind of stuff we teach on our podcast. Is we don't just interview guests, but we have guests teach about stuff like that, how to control the things happening, how to figure out what's happening, what to do with it, how to develop it even. Everybody I really think can, and why not? If you don't want to, don't. Not. Don't. But it's just like you were just there. You were just there, Phil, when you were born. You're just like, hey, I want to do this now.
Yeah. But I've always told people that if you want a quick fix, there is no quick fix for it. It takes time. It takes learning. It takes training.
Yes.
But there are people out there that think, okay, well, I'm used to this, and I'm new to this, not used to it, new to this, and I want to get rid of it completely quickly. And it's like, if that don't happen, it's just not going to happen.
No.
Well, and we've talked about too at the beginning of the show that how psychics are now like sought out, during these last couple of years because of everything with the world changing, people actually staying home and trying to figure out who they really are, why they're here. And so people don't want to sit there and watch, hauntings on TV or anything like that. They want to know how to do it. Mm-hmm. They want to know how to do it in their life and how to open themselves up. That's what they want.
You're right, Misty. It's probably because it's happened to them at some point.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the beauty of it is now is a great time to learn. Now is the time. The time is now.
The time is now.
Well, we are at the house, so we're going to take a quick commercial break, but we'll be right back with my guest, Lisa and Misty as we talk about psychic abilities and so much more, and then we'll get into the podcast later. We'll be right back.
Do you have a talk radio, Facebook Live, or YouTube show and would like guests for your show but don't know where to go to get them? Well, go to radioguestlist.com and sign up today. They have all different experts in different fields, and you can find the ones that are just right for your show. That's radioguestlist.com. Sign up today. It's free.
To advertise on Talk in the Night, send an email to talkinthe.night@outlook.com. Talk in the Night has plans to fit your budget. Get your product or business heard around the world by the Talk in the Night listening audience. Plans include 30-second spots and banner ads on the show's website and mentioned on the social media sites. So get your product or business heard around the world today. Shop the Talk in the Night merch store today and pick up one of the many products with 9 different designs to choose from. The store has men's and women's apparel, drinkware, houseware, and accessories. Pick up a t-shirt, coffee mug, or anything else on there and support the show today. Go to talkinthe.night.com to find a link to the merch store.
Been raining cats and dogs, crying like a church on Monday. Seems Mother Nature helped us with our plan. Last year we lost it all, trying to save a boy from dying. Now we've got nothing to lose it all.
And now, back to Talk in the Night with your host, Paranormal Phil.
Close to me.
Okay, and we are back with my guests Lisa and Misty as we continue talking about psychic abilities and so much more. Now, before the break, we were talking about those different abilities and everything like that. Now, what abilities do you say that you have, like clairvoyant, clairaudient, and so forth?
Misty, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. You know, I've been thinking about that question a lot. And I kind of go back to where, you know, I'm not just one thing. Like, I've heard things before. I've seen things before. I definitely feel things for sure. So, you know, it's kind of a little bit of everything, but I would say that I would probably...
well, I would say let's kind of the strongest one, just to make it a little more simpler.
Yeah.
So what would you say your strongest is, Misty? Or really, you want to feel
strongest,
more confident in? Yeah. Everything cuts out a little bit.
Yeah, I would probably go with the feelings, you know, of being able to feel what other people feel. Yeah, and the thoughts. because I think, wouldn't you think that, Lisa? Because usually it all comes out.
You know what
in
people are
thought.
thinking. You've got a big telepathy.
Right.
I think you have a lot of telepathy, but you have divination gifts too. You always know what's happening. You always know what's coming. You get messages from the divine. I don't know. I think when I met you, I think it was your biggest gift was your curiosity. You know, and curiosity is kind of makes things happen. You know,
Curiosity killed the cat.
You can do it all. As far as I've seen, if you get someone explains it to you or it's demonstrated to you, you can do it. I've watched it. you know, I've watched you do that. Maybe not right away, but you do. You know, you'll start working on it, and eventually you'll get somewhere with it, or you'll go like really far. You know, so that's how I feel like you do. And you have.
Determined.
You are determined. I think that's like amazing, and you've done it really quickly. It's because you were unlocking. When I first met you, you were saying that you were trying to reopen something from when you closed up.
Yeah, well, I guess everybody's that way. I mean, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. Like me,
it's true.
Even being 50 years old, I started internet radio 10 years ago, and I didn't know nothing about it. I just got out there, learned it, and did it, and stuff like that, and it just caught on, and I learned more and more, and stuff like that. I was never really a big book reader, so I would learn by doing it and watching videos and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Self-learn, self-taught. Yeah, that's how I do things usually, especially with anything energy work-wise, except for magic. I know I've learned witchcraft, some magic work. Yeah. Like it's all energy work. I kind of consider it an umbrella term, like I said in the beginning of the podcast. But I have a good friend who really introduced me to this way, you know, like herbs. And I've played with herbs and stuff as a younger person, you know, like make herb baths and make, you know, products. I even used to boil oregano and keep it in the fridge just to put on my face to kind of clear my skin up. And I just, I think I read it in the dictionary that it was an antibiotic. They didn't have the internet then. I was in high school, you know.
Yeah. Back when you had to actually go through those big
Maybe
old...
it was a library, on the
those big old... now or those little filing cabinets with the...
Rolodex. Now I have a Rolodex. Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of what that thing is called. The cabinet with the Dewey Decimal System cards in it. Yeah. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, I couldn't either.
I might have.
Oh, I don't like it.
But now everything's at everybody's tip of their fingertips and everything like that. So everything can be searched out.
Isn't that great? It can be overwhelming too, and it's just like, you know, it's hard to get to a place where for me it was, and I'm still working on it. It's kind of a thing I have to do every single day, but get to a place where I'm okay. Yeah. That's the best way to put it. You know, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And that's like a goal, and everybody else I know is okay. You know, like if I can help that, I can try to help that.
Okay. So, Lisa, what would you say that your strongest ability is?
I would guess there's two that I guess mediumship and clairsentience, if you really want to pin it down.
Okay.
And divination, yeah. But more clairsentience and mediumship. I work with spirit guides a lot, more than anything, and tarot cards.
She's really good.
Okay, yeah. Me, I would have to say mine is more of, I mean, there's so many to break down, but I would have to say more of a premonition type feeling things more than I see them. I do see a lot of spirits, trust me. It gets annoying after a while sometimes, but...
I'll teach you some tricks there.
But I've learned how to shut it down to where... like silence. I don't want to listen to you. But
there's a way to do it.
But anyways, like me, I like for Hurricane Katrina, I actually before it even hit the east coast of Florida, I pointed out the town in Mississippi where the eye of the storm hit. Before
that's really I don't have that global kind of sense. I don't have anything like that. I just have individuals, You know, if
Yeah.
I talk to an individual, I'll know stuff. But if I look at the world, I don't know anything.
But yeah, I can see
You
things.
know?
I can see
Misty
things.
has more of that grand vision like you do.
I can see things from a distance. Another example is there's a house out in Beverly Hills that I've investigated over 200 times. I've helped with ghost tours, and it sits 150 feet away from where the Manson murders happened. Well, the first time going out there, my friend was driving. I was right in the passenger seat to navigate, so we didn't get lost. Because we knew where we were going on the freeway, but as soon as we got to Los Angeles, we had to take several different streets, so we didn't want to get lost there. But
Right.
And we're talking about from where I was born and lived to Beverly Hills was about 50 to 60 miles, I want to say. Well, my friend was driving there, and I was doing the navigating, and I knew we were on the freeway. We were in Pomona, about 40 miles away, and I was like, well, we don't need to navigate right now, so let me look up there, because I didn't want to know anything about the location other than the murders happened down at the end of the drive. That's all I wanted to know, because that was general knowledge. So it's
Right.
nothing else that I can pull from that. But I did not want to know anything else because the guy that I was riding with knew my abilities.
Yeah.
And I said,
Yeah.
let me pull up Google Earth on my phone. And I zoomed into the house. And when I did, I got this feeling like, okay, there's something there. There's a portal right there. I was pointing to my phone. I'm trying to show him he's driving 80 miles per hour down the freeway. He's like, don't show me until we get there, or just tell me about it. I'm like, right there, there's a portal to the spirit world. Right there. I was adamant about it. And so I told him and everything like that, what I was seeing and everything like that. And when we got there, he goes, tell David exactly what you told me on the drive there. And again, like I said, this is 40 miles away.
Yeah.
And I stepped into the spot that I saw on the map because I could feel the energy too. So it wasn't like, I'll have to look at the map and see where what spot was. No, I stepped to right where the energy was. And David's eyes widened and he was in shock because I knew nothing. Steve had told him I didn't want to know anything. So he goes, where you're standing, when this house was built, because this was built well after the Manson murders happened. The house was built in 92, I think it was. But he said, where you're standing, when the house was being built, a 5-gallon bucket of water full to the brim tipped uphill without any assistance, which is impossible unless you have some kind of force behind it. And I was standing in the same exact spot.
Wow.
So, like I said,
What do you think about that? How
Crazy.
see, that doesn't happen to me. Like, what is that like? What do you?
Yeah.
Like, you just like don't feel weird at all. Do you feel weird when you find out, or?
No,
I mean,
no, because I mean, like me, I just it
just
just
know
comes
it.
natural to me.
yeah.
Yeah, you know it. You know
You
it.
just know. You no.
It's like
No.
It's like
No,
you're not going to tell me different because I know. I'm gonna shock the hell out of you.
No.
I'm gonna shock the hell out of you. You're not gonna shock the hell out of me.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, no, I've had so many experiences there, especially with a lot of the activity, a lot of the spirits from the murder that actually hang out in his home, as well as some other spirits there. But I mean, that's one of my big abilities, is being able to see things from a distance, remote viewing.
Wow, yeah, I can do that too. Yeah, I didn't. That wasn't one of my bigger ones, but I can do it too. The remote viewing.
But also, I've have the gift to actually get rid of those darker entities.
Yeah, some people do.
me too.
A lot of people who
Oh
see
my
ghosts
God.
and bad spirits do too, and Misty does. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I have been actually called into a lot of locations before a Catholic priest would because of how
Wow.
good I am.
Yeah.
They're like,
That's
we don't
cool.
need
Yeah.
to call any Catholic priest or even somebody from the Christian faith or another faith. We'll just call him because we know he can do the job.
We know he's done it. Yeah.
no,
yeah,
Tell us a
that's
story
crazy.
about it. I want to hear about
Yeah, I
this.
want to hear that too.
Tell me a good one. I want to hear
No,
a good one.
there was one location.
They're all good, I bet.
There's one location I went
I know.
into that somebody used the Ouija board, and I always tell people the board is not bad itself. It's the intent that you put into it. Like any tool, if you put that bad intent into it, you're gonna get a bad result out of
And
it.
if you start with fear, it's
Yeah.
going to be scary. Yeah, exactly.
So,
what happens is
so
really
I
what
go-
you
And that's
expect to
usually how
happen.
it happens. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
go into locations with no fear. I go surrounded by a white light always, and
Protected. Yeah. Yeah.
and at one location we were at, like I said, they used the Ouija board with a bad intent to it. So I told the team that I was with, stay outside the room for your safety, but for my safety as well, just in case you have to come in, which I knew they would never have to. But I wanted to make them
Right.
feel at ease. I was like, okay, you stay out here for my safety, but I want you to stay out here for your safety because I don't know exactly what I'm dealing with just yet until I get in there.
And they're not protected like you are. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I went into this thing. I started doing my ritual, and you mentioned witchcraft and magic and everything like that. I'm Wiccan myself, so I have my own rituals that I do.
Right. I do
And-
too.
And I went
Yeah, I
in
do
there
too. Yeah.
doing like a chant that I had made up for this situation. And I did my thing. I was in there like chanting, saying, "You're not welcome here," and forceful, but not angry. Forceful,
Yeah, that's what Misty does.
because if you go in there angry, that darker
Yeah.
entity is going to play off of it. But you have to be forceful. So I was like opening and
Yeah.
closing cabinet doors and stuff like that. I said, "You're not welcome here. Get out." And the people standing outside the door saw this dark gray mist run from room to room as I was chasing it around the house until it left the house.
Doesn't it make sense
Yeah.
to you, Phil, that
Oh my
maybe
God,
magic
yeah.
and psychic and all this stuff, it all is the same thing, really, kind of? I mean, energy
Yeah.
work, if you want to call it that, or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
of
or
course,
spi-
not
it's-
everybody can do
it's
it.
real. It's tangible, though. It's actually tangible. You know, something we can discuss and all relate. Like, how do you describe seeing to a blind person?
Yeah.
Unless they've been blinded and they've seen before.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's not blind in this area. They all can experience and discuss it in some way. If they've heard a ghost, you know,
Yeah.
everybody's got a ghost story.
Well,
You know,
also,
a campfire
Oh
story.
yeah.
Well, also, once you lose one sense or start losing a sense, other senses are heightened. So
True.
if you lose your sight, then your
Yeah.
hearing is heightened.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't see very well, but I don't like to wear glasses. I just have astigmatism pretty bad.
Yeah, same here.
But I prefer the astigmatism.
I got trifocals, so I mean, I have to use them when I'm reading, but otherwise I don't really need them because for the most
Yeah.
part I can see pretty good, I think. But all my other senses are heightened anyways as it is, so it's
Yeah.
not like they can get any more. It's like
That is something interesting to talk about, like how to numb it down a little bit or get it even and balanced and grounded to where it's not just so sensitive, to where it overwhelms. That's how I
Well-
used to be, but I guess spending a lot of alone time helps me. You know, a lot
Well-
of time alone helps me.
well, see the way
Like,
I
regenerate.
there's ways that I learned to, and I don't know if you all done this or not, but the way I found to kind of relax that ability, and also to be able to open that third eye, is meditation.
Yes.
Yes, it is. We always say that. Yeah.
And the way I've tried to teach people how to open up their third eye a little bit, but like I said earlier, I tell them it's not going to happen overnight. It took me years to learn how to strengthen my abilities to where they're at today.
Right. Me too.
But I told people the way I did it, and I explained this many times, that I would go, there was a place that I lived out in the country, just on 3 acres out in California. So I could sit out there in the middle of the yard and listen to like the winds, the birds chirping, and stuff like that. And
Nice.
I would just listen to the sounds of nature. No music, nothing like that, unless I happened to be inside where I couldn't hear that. But what I would do is listen to all those sounds, and I would take once a week, work on cutting out one sound each week to where I did not hear it at all. Until I got to the point where I would sit out there and I would not hear anything at all.
That is meticulous meditation, man.
That is.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah.
But
It is.
I mean,
But he's got a good point.
But when you cut out all those sounds, like when I mentioned about the eyesight and the hearing, everything else gets heightened if you lose one of those senses. When you lose that sense of hearing everything, and your eyes are closed, so you lose that sense of seeing, and really all you got is your smell, but you're not even focused on that because you're focused on trying to cut out those sounds and hearing nothing. Then that third eye gets strengthened to the point to where it is now for me.
Yeah.
Yes. Well put.
Maybe that's why children, they don't know what, that's why they're more attuned to their psychic senses. Because they can't, their organs aren't developed quite enough yet.
Well,
Maybe
I don't
that's
think it's
something
that,
else.
I mean, that's an interesting hypothesis, but
It just popped out.
but anyways, I believe, like I said, that they're not corrupted by their everyday world. A lot of the young kids, like I mentioned earlier, like 2 to 5, 6 years old, they're not corrupted by the everyday world. They're not being told, usually at that age, because they're not really talking too much, that there ain't nothing there or something like that, unless the parent sees them staring off into the distance at nothing. But for the most part, they're not talking about it. And or they're really young, they can't talk about it. But they're not corrupted by the everyday world.
Yeah.
People tell them it's nothing, it's not real, and stuff like that. So they're not. Their mind is not overwhelmed with all this knowledge.
Right.
Yep. And that's what most adults do. Tell them it's not real.
Yeah.
Put it aside.
No.
Well, that's a lot of people. It's weird. Well, I would consider us adults, but most people are parents or in their 20s and 30s. Who have children and they're teaching them.
There are people that have taught to that have had learned these abilities later in life too.
Yeah.
One person, again at the out in Beverly Hills, like I mentioned, they did ghost tours, and the house next door was there on the night of the murder, so it had that darker energy. Of course, I was the tech. I was the tech guy. I was always watching all the 16 to 24 hour cameras, so because nobody else in the team knew how to do all that.
Yeah.
So, it was only 3 of us, so one psychic, me, which was the tech guy, and I would help out sometimes inside, but and then another guy that helped with doing the tours with all the equipment and stuff, because he knew that kind of equipment. And so I mean, I was sitting outside watching in the garage, watching these 24 cameras at the time. And this lady came out of the house next door, and she was feeling physically ill. And I don't know, I've never heard anybody else being able to do this ability, kind of projecting their white light onto somebody else or not. But, I mean, I went over to her because she was feeling physically ill, and I said, I asked her first what was going on and everything like that. She mentioned she was new to her empathic abilities. And I said, okay, here's what I want you to do. Stand up, close your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths, and then imagine the brightest white light that you can imagine. Of course, with her imagining that white light and me pushing the white light off of me, she instantly felt better.
Now, where did you know to do that? How did you come up with that? Did you just think of it, or did someone teach you that?
No, I learned it on my own.
See? Where? I mean, you just thought it up and it worked?
Yeah.
Well, isn't that something? You know? I mean, it's true. It works.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. It's amazing. And everyone has their version of that. If it's not a white light, then it's something else. Like, take a deep breath with me.
Yeah.
You know, and just let it go. And stuff like that. Somebody's got something, some way they can put it to a person. You probably know different ways too.
I'm sure those spirits were,
you know, different people. You probably do too. You're probably sensitive enough to know how to do
this,
it. You know,
do this.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like you just figure it out. The visualization and imagination is like at the root of how to do it. Yeah, it's not definitely how. I don't know. It's just there, but like working with it is the imagination.
Yeah.
To me, I think that's just makes sense to me. What is the imagination, and what are dreams? So we can go a lot, into what it all is about. But I just like anyone who's curious or skeptical, just question your imagination. Just question what the heck it is. What is it? What is your imagination? What is not your consciousness or anything like that? What is your imagination? I remember when I lived in Phoenix. I had a little girl. She wasn't my biological little girl. She was a little girl I babysat, and then we lived next door to her and her parents for a long time. Her name was Gabrielle. I babysat her from when she was 6 months old till she was 2. And then she lived next door to me till I moved away when she was 7. And I loved my little girl, Gabrielle. So one day, I was sitting on the porch one night. It was late at night, and she was up. We were always up late at night, and she was up, of course, baby. She was maybe 1.5 at this time. No, I think a little, maybe 2. She was talking, and I taught her how to imagine. And that was one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me. Like, I've never actually taught someone how to imagine. I sat down with her. Her parents were there, too, and they were so excited. And I told her I was imagining something. She's like, what's that? And I told her to imagine something. And she said, I don't know what you mean. I said, well, make it up in your head. Pretend. And she's like, I don't get it. And I said, well, okay, look in the corner over there, and with your eyeballs, pretend, or just, it's not really there, I said, but make up like there is one. There's a unicorn with wings, or something like that, or a dinosaur with wings. I mixed it up. I made it like a giraffe with a dinosaur with wings or something like that. And then she she looked and looked and looked, and then she said, and it also has like blue eyes or something like that. She went with it, and she could see it, and it was really cool. And her parents were just like so excited about it. And I was like, you just imagined, It was so, I just love that little girl. She was so imaginative after that. We were always playing dinosaur games, and
although sometimes imagination can get people in trouble too.
Yes, it will. It can get obsessively dangerous. Yeah. Imagination. What is it? What is the imagination? What is it? I got to think about it now some more. I'm going to lose time.
Yeah. But we are at the top of the hour and everything like that. But we're going to take a real quick commercial break. But we'll be right back with my guests, Lisa and Misty, as we talk about psychic abilities and so much more. We'll be right back.
Running tired and broken and scared, but I swear I'll never give up the fight. I see you broken and beat, head pulled down over your eyes. Every part of you wants to surrender, but darling, you were meant to survive. With every star,
The weather is getting warmer and people are out and about. Well, if you love ghost hunting, now is the time to pick up some new gear. GhostStop.com has a wide variety of equipment to choose from, and one of those items is Blue Buddy. He's back. The talking bear every investigator wants on their team. Click on the Ghost Stop banner ad at the top of the show's website and pick up your Blue Buddy today. Go to spring.com and sign up to create your own design or choose from a design from one of the many creators on there. Spring has ways to integrate your store on social media, custom stores, and they have digital and physical products. While you're there, check out the Talk in the Night merch store. To get started with Spring today, click on the banner ad on the Talk in the Night website. Go to the show's website and click on the links for each of my guests and purchase a book or other product that they may be promoting. Without them, there would be no Talk in the Night. Whether you're interested in the paranormal, conspiracy, technology, health, relationships, or any other topic the show covers, my guests have something for you. Check it out today on talkingthenight.com. Call into the show, Skype Talk in the Night, or by phone at 817-717-1280. Now back to Talk in the Night with your host, Paranormal Phil. Okay, and we are back with my guests, Lisa and Misty, and I believe Misty has to leave. I think she's still there for right now, but she wanted to say goodbye before she headed out, I believe.
Misty?
Yes, I do. I want to thank you both. This was just a lot of fun. I love talking about it. I love learning about it and hearing about it. So thank you both for letting me be on your show.
Thank you, Misty. I love you. Sleep well.
Love you. Goodbye, Phil.
Goodbye. All right, so now we're going to get into the phone calls and the questions and everything like that. So if you want to call into the show, ask Lisa a question about psychic abilities and stuff like that, you can do so by calling using the Skype name Talk in the Night, or by phone at 717-1280. I had to think about the number for a second there. Or if you go over to Spreaker.com, sign up for a free account. It don't cost a thing. You don't have to record anything. You can go there, sign up for an account, click on Talk of the Night or search it, and then click on the show. And then when you click on the live show, scroll down a little bit. There is a chat bar, and that way you can ask your questions that way as well. So we're going to get into, I'm going to kind of ask questions from the chat, and I'm going to ask questions from my list of things here. But we're going to go to the chat first. And this first question, did you have any mentors for developing your gift?
I did. Not until I worked for, as a reader, though. It was another advisor on a platform I worked on, and they would, in the 90s, they would call them psychic hotlines, but then at some point they got turned into psychic platforms. Yeah. But I worked a platform with him, and he called me on his dime and gave me a reading and gave me his email. That was really the only way we could do it. And we started talking, and he mentored me a lot of things. But that was when I was about 35, I think.
I mean, like I said, I kind of, like I said, had my ability since 5 years old, but I really got into understanding my abilities more when I was 19. So I got an early start on mine. And I didn't have no mentors or anything like that. I just learned because it was something that I knew how to do.
I was curious, and I had to, Philip. I had to. I had to. His name was Philip. This guy. He was a really great friend for a long time. We've lost touch, but he was a really good teacher, and he was laid back. He didn't judge me, and it was just. He just I asked him a lot of big questions, and I don't know about you. I don't know what age you were when you were asking the bigger questions, like why and what's the point and how much can you know and what can you do with this? What's the point?
Well, I think I was more or less asking my spirit guides that.
Oh, I do now, but
they knew all the answers.
No, nobody tells me, but I just did. It was the first human being I would talk to about that stuff with. Yeah. And the guys wouldn't tell me. They don't tell me crap. They will give me the basic rundown, or they'll resonate certain things to me, I guess is a good way to put it. But they want me to experience it because I have to, and you know why. Yeah. So that's what this mentor was kind of getting through to me, but he was really good about keeping things not heavy. It was never heavy. It was always light. And unless I wanted something to know something or understand something, he never pushed anything on me. Yeah. I learned this. He always said me books, astrology books. And I never can get a grasp of astrology. I've tried. I still am. Right now I'm in a heavier phase of trying to learn astrology.
Yeah.
If you can call it. I can't get it. Man.
Well, I tried learning numerology, which is a little more...
I love numerology.
I can figure out the light path number, which I'm a light path number 4, excuse me. But, no, it's just something that interested me.
Yeah, and numerology is fascinating. I love it. I get really... That's interesting how I'll get into that some other time. Yeah. But I learned about numerology more later in life, too, and I just love it.
Yeah. Now, of course, like me, I think I was born on the right date just for my abilities. Just because, especially with dealing with the darker entities and stuff like that. Because a lot of people say, I'll use I'll use dark entities and light entities because I'm Wiccan. But the way I describe it is, it can be construed in different wording based on different religion. Like dark entity, light entity could be construed as angels and demons. Just a matter of wording, how you look at it, what your belief system is. Right. Higher plane of existence, lower plane of existence. And I think a lot of my abilities also come because most of my ancestry is Irish and everything like that, and the Celtic Irish and stuff like that. So it's just, I think that's where my abilities were kind of passed down from.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I don't. It ever seems to me everyone's got them. So I don't know, but I know what you're saying with the Irish thing. There's something about the Irish. They got that fae. The fae are always around them. I don't know if you know. I think you do know what I'm talking about. Fairies. The fairies are always around the Irish people.
They're Scottish people and stuff like that. I've seen
elementals. Yeah. They're always around us, and they're always trying to let us know.
Oh, trust me.
That happens to everybody else too, but more so to us, or we notice it more because we just can't help ourselves. I've got a white moth in my house right now, and he's just so interesting. And I've always got the fairies around. A white moth in the summer. I mean, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, in my hometown of Southern California, there is local legend. This one hill that they always have Easter sunrise services. They call it a mountain, but it's basically a hill, 1,000-foot elevation mountain. But I would go help out the Boy Scouts, of course, when they would do the Easter sunrise service. Now they don't do it anymore because they got a paved trail going up, roadway going up there, so people don't have to. We don't have to cut the trails or anything like that anymore. So it made it easier, but. I would go the night before, even after all that, and I would still go there the night before. I would visit the cemetery at the base of the hill just for a ghost investigation. And then I would go up to the mountain, and there was a local legend there of elves that would stack rocks. Of course, I never found anything, but I was like,
Yeah.
I got to go search. I got to. It just fascinates me. So I went out there, and of course, back then I could walk pretty easily. And my friend that I talked about driving to Beverly Hills earlier, he went with me once, and he's like, "You're the human goat," because I could walk straight up the hill as quickly as possible. He's like,
You gotta get it over with.
I can't keep up. Slow down.
You are a 4. Life path. Service, and duty. Duty's more 6, I guess, but service is a life path number 4 in numerology.
Yeah.
Like very much so. It's like, that's some service stuff.
Yeah.
Getting up that hill. You're not going to stop.
Also, I used to, in the early 90s, I worked in wildland firefighting, so you have to be able to climb up hills and down hills with heavy equipment on, so you have to be able to move fast. And especially when you don't have equipment on, then you can move a heck lot faster.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I didn't think about that because I've never been in a firefighter suit, but I can't imagine how heavy it is because
about 175 pounds on the back.
Whoa! Oh, sheesh.
In a heavy fire suit, standing about 500 feet away from the fire.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing! You must have fought some huge fires.
I fought 3 big fires: Malibu, Laguna, and another small fire, Box Springs, but. It wasn't too much, but that's not what we're here to talk about. But now I do want to ask, when was the first time you had a paranormal experience, or have you had sightings of full body apparitions, or been on any investigation and stuff like that?
Oh, I've never been on an investigation. No, I guess if you want to say like a ghost story or something weird that I didn't know what was going on. I was in a play my senior year of high school. It was the play parents. They've got like 1 million children, 12 children or something. I was the oldest daughter. I can't remember that. You would know it. A Cheaper by the Dozen. I was in that play. And I was the oldest daughter, and I in the play. So, there were a bunch of kids in this play, 12, and 2 adults, 3 adults, or something. So I would be in the green room. The green room was underneath the dressing room, and the stage was in front of both of those. And the lights were in front of the dressing room, and the stage was in front of the green room. So all through rehearsal and play, everything was fine. Nothing weird ever happened. But the first night, in the green room, at one time in the middle of the play, everybody was out there except for me and 2 of the younger children. Like 2 of them played like the 8-year-old and like the 6-year-old. Something like we were just the 3 of us. Maybe it was 10 and 6 or something. They were younger though, and I was 17. And I heard upstairs in the dressing room just this thump, 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 on the on the floor above, hitting the ceiling, was like shaking. And I was like, gosh, the people out in the audience are going to hear that. And I said that to the kids. I said, you hear that? And they're like, yeah. I was like, should I go tell them to stop? Because who's up there? I said, they're like, I don't know. I said, well, they got to stop. So I went up there because I want the audience to hear it. And I went up there, and there's a woman, at the mirror on one side putting her makeup just so. And on the other side of the room was a guy reading his lines. And I said, what are y'all doing? Are you dancing? What's going on? And they're like, they're on totally opposite sides of the room doing different things. And they're like, what are you talking about? I said, didn't you hear that? And they said, no. Well, hear what? And it was like the floor was shaking. I mean, they couldn't have even two people that had been dancing and the floor had been shaking. Yeah. And this is inside the Princess Theater in Decatur, Alabama. So it's an old theater that was built in the 1920s. And so I went back downstairs. It was still going on, and I had just come back down. And I went back up, and they were just still doing the same thing. And I just befuddled. I went down, and I just sat there and listened to it until the three of us had to get on stage. Yeah. And then years later, about 4 years later, I was reading a history book about Decatur. And the Princess Theater used to be a horse stable. So that was my first paranormal experience where I was like, wow. With other people, we'll experience this. There were horses. We heard the horse stable. Why? I don't know. Yeah. But I knew it when I read that. That was the sound we heard, was horses kicking around a stall. It sounded and then when the cars came in and the streets came in, they built the Princess Theater.
Okay.
So,
yeah. A lot of locations, and I've mentioned this many times, that the building doesn't need to necessarily have a tragic event or something like that to be haunted. It can be the land that it sits on, like Gettysburg, Salem, Massachusetts, any place up along the East Coast because of the Civil War or the Revolutionary War, or even like here in Fort Worth, the stockyards. I mean, they're highly haunted and everything like that, but it goes back to a lot of times the land that it sit on, because a lot of times buildings were not there.
Yeah, exactly. Or what was there isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Or something was there a long,
well, the stockyards
underwater.
The stockyards, a lot of the buildings are original and still there. But like downtown Fort Worth, it was just mainly a small fort city.
Yeah.
So there wasn't much more than that fort. So there wasn't really a whole lot of buildings, but there are buildings that are away from that fort area that are haunted.
I bet there are. I used to live out in the desert too, and I live in the city in the desert, but I remember going to some of those towns like Jerome, Arizona. I don't know if you've heard of that place. Have you been to Jerome? Oh, you know that place.
I've been to Tombstone.
Okay. You should go to Jerome if you ever do any more paranormal studies. I highly recommend it. It used to be a mining prostitution town, little tiny mining prostitution town. And when I went there, it was probably 2006 or 5 or something. I went there with a friend, Joni, and we had a few beers, we walked around, and a lot of lesbians lived there and artists lived there. And people who cook, and there are restaurants and breweries. I can't say breweries. There was like a restaurant, a brewery, but half the town was kind of built like a very small artist town, and the other half of the town was still crumbling, like the old miners' prostitution town.
Yeah,
and it was just very strange. And it was cool though. It felt really good there, but it felt strange.
Well,
I can't explain it.
Like
It's high up. It's high up. Like up. It's just you drive up this really steep hill. You take a right, and you go up, and you're there. Yeah. And it's tiny, but I'm making it sound bigger than it is. But it's just got layers going up. Yeah. And there's little houses everywhere. You could rent an apartment there. I think I saw one. I was like, I might do it. It was like $250 a month. Like I might do it.
At one time, I thought about living in Tombstone, Arizona, because I do have a fascination with the Civil War. I do have a fascination with the Old West. That's why I chose Fort Worth. But no, I had investigated in the mid-90s Tombstone, Arizona, because I was driving from the East Coast up to the West Coast for leave when I was in the military. And so I said, let me stop by Tombstone and visit and everything like that. And I checked it out and looked around and stuff. Looked around, but I never really went into like the Birdcage Saloon or anything like that. But I did mostly like Boot Hill. And then living out in California, it was probably about 10 years ago. There's a cemetery out there because Wyatt Earp's parents lived out in California. And Wyatt Earp's younger brother, Morgan, is buried out there in Southern California. So I went to the grave one time and I said, let me ask a question that nobody else, I don't think, has ever thought to ask the spirits. They might have asked living people about this, but nobody, I don't think, has ever asked the spirit, especially one that's been there at the scene of the OK Corral, who fired the first shot at the OK Corral.
I didn't think about that. Oh my gosh. Who did?
And the answer I got on the digital recorder was Wyatt did. And nobody in that cemetery would know that except for Morgan Earp, Wyatt Earp's younger brother.
Yeah. I wouldn't know that, but yeah, okay. Oh, wow, that's so cool. That is so cool.
So before we go to commercial break in 9 minutes, I'm going to go to the chat here and ask another question from the listening audience. What is the difference from psychic to medium?
I guess a medium speaks with spirits, and psychics don't always want to. They can, but they probably don't, because they don't. That would probably be, I guess, the way I would explain it. A psychic would use other skills, like to divinate, usually for healing purposes, to help someone progress through their life. A good psychic, or an ethical psychic, not someone who's wanting to take your money, someone who's not wanting to scare you. They want to make your life better. That's what a psychic healer does, or psychic reader, an empath. Someone who works with you that way is there to heal you. Help you heal, because they did it too. Yeah. Kind of like a therapist is. And show you through your gifts or through what you already know about yourself, what you don't know, we can see. You haven't seen it yet. Yeah, show you that and show you what you can do with it. Not like psychic gifts, but look at look at yourself in the reading. This is what you are, and this is how I see you. This is what's going to happen. You have choice. And empower people to see what choices are coming up and what they can do. Yeah. So when they come, they can do their best thing for themselves. They make themselves happy without hurting anyone and making whatever, what they want happen for themselves. That's what a psychic is. And a medium just incorporates spirits.
Okay.
That's how I would say it. Yeah.
All right. Now, I want to ask this question because, we talked about briefly earlier, but how do you help and tell people how they can open their third eye, and how do you help people, if you do help people, learn how to kind of shut it down to where, because, like me, I tell people, once you open that door, if you're new to your abilities, I would tell people, learn your abilities first, because if you open that doorway and you don't know how to close it, you might have all the good intentions in the world, but if you leave that door open, something darker is bound to come through.
I'm not sure what you're asking, because I feel it when you talk. I feel my third eye a lot, and I experience things through it, but I don't ever have anything. It only helps me. Well, it only assists me. I've never had problems there.
Okay.
I don't teach people how to do it, because I feel like it just does it when it's time.
Okay.
I don't know how. I don't know how. I know some people who know how to activate chakras, like my friend Akasha, who's taught me the witchcraft. She can activate chakras in your body by talking about them to you and activating them. So she did that for me one time, but before then I had felt
I didn't know if you knew how to do that kind of stuff, because like I mentioned
I did it to
earlier
Misty, actually. I didn't know I could, but I described what Akasha did to me to her, and she said she did the same thing. She felt it.
Yeah, I mentioned about the meditation and cutting out the sound. That's the way I've tried to help people before, but I don't like to do it too much, because, like I said, as soon as you open that doorway, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you leave that door open, that there is darkness that could come through there.
So protection.
Yes.
Filtering. So I have a really good ability to compartmentalize. I highly advise not sitting and thinking too long. unless you're daydreaming about doing something with it. Because if I sit too long, especially thinking or feeling too hard and focusing on it, on something that is any aspect of anything, I will go down a rabbit hole in my soul and not come out for a long time. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
So I need to be occupied and also somewhat incorporating, how do I put it? Incorporating what I'm working on spiritually or energy work-wise or magically or psychically into what my hands are doing or what I'm focusing on. Having a conversation with someone, petting my cat, whatever, just doing, like, making jewelry. I do have a lot of crafts. I like being busy. Sometimes I'll just sit and space out for a few hours, though, and that's when I'm daydreaming and imagining and meditating, really. I've learned Reiki recently, so I do that a lot on myself. I think keeping yourself busy and thinking positively, train yourself to redo the way you think. If you have a problem with the bad stuff coming in, redo the way you think, because what you think about is what you attract.
Yeah,
I think we talked about that earlier in the podcast.
Yeah, and of course, like I mentioned that, once I open myself to the spirit world, I have to kind of close that door, because the minute that those spirits see that I can actually see and hear them and everything like that, they tend to flock to me, especially if I'm in a large crowd.
I'll give you some energetic advice instead of some practical advice. So what I do is I call it the battery. When I learned this, and now I do it unconsciously all the time. So as an empath, as a hyper empath, you're absorbing, right? You're absorbing how I feel, absorbing how Misty felt, absorbing how your audience feels, absorbing how your cat feels, or your dog.
I have a cat.
But cat, all right, the cat, man, the cat. I got two. So you're absorbing. So what you can do as a technique is to gather from. Okay, I can tell you how I do it, but I tell a lot of people, if this doesn't work for you, try it with your astrology, element. So what is your astrology element?
Shoot.
What is your sign? What is your sign?
I'm a Capricorn, so
you'd be Earth. So this would work for you, for example. So imagine all, down below you, below your feet, below your butt, below your spine, this below the floor, below that, below the space there, and then into the dirt, and then the worms and the bugs, and below that, and just think about that. And then pull up green from there, and it just comes up, and it comes into your spine, like through your root chakra, and all the way up through your body and out the top of your head. But while it crosses through, it changes color from green to blue-white, like a bluish white. And you're transforming the color of it. So what you're doing is making a battery, and you're always pulling this energy up and letting it flow through you, pulling this energy up and letting it flow through you. And then you push out instead of absorb. This is I call it projecting. Projecting out. Because an empath, the great actor, will project out, and show it all that way. And it's on printed on film, Yeah,
like me, I don't really... When I mentioned that they like to kind of be... not absorb, but they see that light, basically. And
don't let them see it. Don't let them see it. That's what you're doing when you're projecting. You're projecting the earth.
But I have a way of doing it to where I project something out to them that says, okay, you got to wait there.
Yes, see, that works for you, right? Does that work?
Yeah, because... it's I can only do one at a time, because I mentioned the Omen House, that we had one psychic there. After she did a seance, I would have to go downstairs to the third level where they were doing the seance, because as soon as she was done, she did not know how to do it, to where she was getting all these spirits around her and wanting their message to get out to these people there for the seance. And it's okay, and on top of a haunted location at that.
Yeah.
I was like, let me go down there. I'll pull some of those spirits off of her, because I know how to shut some of them up when I don't need them. And everything like that. But they respect me and wait their turn. That's
I kind of have a system kind of like that. I just push them all out, and if I want to, I invite one in. That's what I do instead. I don't ever let them near.
But also,
I'll push it if they want to come in, and I don't want them to, or they're truly like knocking on the door. I'll get chills all over, and I can be anywhere and just get the chills. I'm like, no, not right now. I can just. That's what I do with the projecting.
I don't know.
They're not coming.
I'm trying to think of how I learned how to do it, but I've learned to the point where
I just figured it out. Yeah,
where I can shut it down completely, where I don't even see or hear them. I can push
too.
That third eye back into the subconscious until I need it again.
I can too. And I have it kind of like cat eye. It's got like a second lid or something. Yeah.
But we are at the commercial
third eye
break.
With a cat lid.
But we are at the commercial break. But we'll be right back with my guest, Lisa, as we continue talking about psychic abilities. And then we'll also get into her podcast after this commercial break. We'll be right back.
From all the colors of September, we fall into that same honest day. Lately I bite more than I can swallow, and I've sealed these senses in a bottle. Then I wish we could go back that way. Hang on, darling, these memories like mending a broken room in our hands, but still out of touch. Think I've forgotten how to dream.
Do you need music for your radio show, podcast, or YouTube channel, but need a music license to play it on your show? Well, go to artlist.io and check out the plans they have. They have 3 plans to choose from: personal, unlimited, and enterprise. All the music that you hear on the show is from Artlist, and there is a banner ad on the show's website. Check it out today. Do you love the strange, unusual, and weird unexplained mysteries? Do you like reading about the paranormal and other happenings? Well, I have the website for you, unexplainedmysteries.com. On there you will find so much, such as the latest news and articles, forums, news with video, and so much more. That's unexplained-mysteries.com, or you can click on the banner ad on the show's website to take you right there. Do you love history? Do you wonder what happened on this day in history? Well, check out history.com/this day in history and find out what happened on this day in recorded history. You can also click on the image on the Talk of the Night website under This Day in History and check out one of the many things that happened. The show's website lists a different event in history every day, so check it out today.
Call into the show, Skype, Talk in the Night, or by phone at 817-717-1280. Now back to Talk in the Night with your host, Paranormal Phil.
Okay, and we are back, and looks like I lost my guest here for a second. We'll get her back. But I want to mention, if you got a question for my guest, if we get her back here, let's actually give her a call back. I don't know if she's having experiences, technical difficulties. There we go. Lisa, are you back?
Sorry. Yes, I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, I have so much trouble with this headset. You wouldn't believe it. It's got buttons. It has buttons.
No
I'm
worries.
I can't keep conscious in my head. They're
No
there.
worries. But if you want to call into the show, you can use the Skype name Talking the Night or by phone at 817-717-1280 or go over to Spreaker.com, sign up for a free account. It don't cost a thing. You don't have to record anything. You can join the discussion in the chat and everything and ask questions there. Now, I want to ask... when you open yourself up to the spirit world, do you, because you mentioned about I lost my train of thought. Magic and witchcraft and stuff like that. Do you do any kind of ritual before opening yourself up to the spirit world?
No, I wouldn't say a ritual. It's kind of a shift in mindset, and especially with the spirit guides, I do let them around all the time. Like they're pretty much. I don't know. I guess you can shut them out, but I don't want to. Two of them anyway. There's so many, I guess, but I just listen to two of them all the time. But I don't know.
Yeah, because like me, I'll if I want to open up myself to the spirit world, I got a whole little same thing that I go through every time. I'll be like, guardians of the watchtower to the north, the south, the east, the west, and the great spirit, protect me against any dark entities that shall come forward to cause harm. Protect me with the white light, so mote it be, so shall it be.
That's good. That's good. I would advise that if people need words, because sometimes people need words. I guess for me, I have to really quickly shift energy is how I feel I do it. And I don't, words do that. The words, that's what we're doing right now.
But see, also,
podcast before.
but like I mentioned earlier about cleansing homes and stuff like that, I use, not only do I put that good intent into it, but I also...
you're shifting the energy when you say it.
I also say it with, not force, but... conviction, basically. And it,
you know it.
The spirits know, don't fuck with this guy. He's gonna fuck us up.
Yeah, he's not fun.
He's too powerful.
He's no fun. He's not fun. He's not fun. He's not scared. He'll go away. Oh, he's gonna hurt our feelings too.
Yeah. Well, like me, there's one place in California that I want to go to that a lot of ghost hunting shows will not do this at all.
Really? What is it?
Well, they'll go to the place. That's not a problem. That's Alcatraz. But they'll investigate the place. That's not the problem. There's a solitary confinement there that no team has ever gone in there alone. No team has ever gone in there with the lights out. And no team has ever gone in there with the door closed.
Why not?
One. Because of the energy, the darker energy in there.
Who was in there?
Me, I want to do all three.
You were in there?
No, I haven't. It's one thing I want to do.
Huh.
I want to go in there with the door closed, the light out, and alone. But I have to talk to the people that run the facility and everything like that, and get with the team that goes there to investigate to do it. Because I'm not going to, even though I want to be in that room alone, I want, like I mentioned earlier about cleansing that home, I want a team outside just in case I do need help.
True. Yeah, definitely. You want that. I don't know. I never heard about that before, but that sounds awesome. I think you should totally do it. I would watch that if you had a team like filming it or something.
Yeah,
I would watch it. I don't think I want to go.
Well, I've been to the Queen Mary. That's another location that I've been to. I've actually talked with the little girl in the first class poll that she's mentioned on many of the tours. had a conversation because me and my then fiance at the time went to the Queen Mary because she was Canadian, so she'd never been there. And me and her were the only ones on this ghost tour, if you will. It's a haunted history tour. It wasn't they got two tours. They got one talking about the haunted history, and then they got one which is more of a Halloween type, smoke and mirror type thing.
Okay.
I went on both of them, but
yeah, of course.
but,
Every angle.
just because Halloween is my favorite time of year, and I'll get into that in a moment. But me and her were the only ones on the tour, so I was like, I asked the guy that was leading the tour, while we're going on this tour, can I do an investigation and everything like that? And my fiance at the time knew, of course, no longer together, but
Yeah.
but it just wasn't to be. But anyways, I just I was like, let me do an investigation, talk with the spirits, and the little girl was afraid of those Halloween type smoke and mirror type tour. She hated the sensationalized. I said it wrong. The sensation of they're making fun of the spirits on there, and she hated that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I get that.
She hung back because there was the one tour, the Halloween tour, going up above with the smoke and mirrors going off in the pool, and me and the other tour guide and my then fiance were back in the changing rooms as they were passing by, so we weren't really interfering with their part of the tour. And so the little girl was there with me, hanging out there. It's like, I'm not going out there.
You're like, neither am I.
well, no, that's what she was saying to me. I'm not going out there.
Oh.
She was like, I don't want to do it. It scares me. And so
they're not different. The spirits don't seem to be different, and it seems like there's like different types. I mean, to me, there's like zillions of shit. There's infinite. There's so many spirit types. It's insane because there are frequencies. You just don't access them all necessarily the same way, like say cats do or something.
Yeah.
But I think that some of their imprints of energy, and some are like actually the spirit soul, and some of them can be fragments, and some of them can be the same soul in many places all at once, and one could be a higher self. I mean, I don't know for sure, though. I don't know, the answers. I just think there's a lot of
there's a lot of answers
options.
we don't
and
know
there's also,
until we
types
get
of
to
spirits
that
and where they
side.
come from and what they're all about, but they don't change who they are when they're spirits, is from my experience, unless you expect them to.
Yeah, well, we don't know a lot about that side of the spirit world until we actually get there. But we can always
I know,
speculate.
it's frustrating.
We can speculate. I mean, I've tried to ask the spirits, what's on the other side? They won't tell me.
They've told me, and they told me, and I read it in a book later on. Okay, this is a book called Journey of Souls, Life Between Lives, Journey of Souls, Life Between Lives by Michael P. Newton, I think. And he does hypnotherapy. He did hypnotherapy, past life regressions to heal physical illnesses in their present lives. But he started recording these because people started remembering and recalling in these hypnosis sessions, being what they did in between lives. And he compiled all these transcripts. So the book is basically all transcripts with just very little blips, paragraphs here. And this is what this paragraph, this is what this is we're about to read, and it's all these transcripts of these people describing what they do in between lives. And if that's exactly what they told me, except it was their way, and that's what the book says. It's all told a different way, but it's the same thing. Like someone say it's a movie theater, it's a stadium, but you're watching your life, or it's whatever, this is whatever they reference, but it's all the same thing. And then they do this, and then they do that, and then they do this, and then they come and then they reincarnate. And that's all, everyone that he did in this transcript had these experiences.
Yeah,
and that is what the spirits told me. And I was like, when I read that book, Philip, that mentor I talked about, gave me that book. And I just, what? I was just like, what? That's what my cousin told me. And I was like, wow. But he told it a little differently.
Well, the spirit world is not bound by our time and space, so they can go any place that they please.
Yeah, I know, right? It's really crazy.
I mean, they can go to Pluto if they wanted to.
Why not? I would.
But anyways, no, I mean, I just, like me, as a Wiccan, I believe I go to a place called the Summerlands. And, of course, I believe in past lives and everything. I've lived a ton of them. So I believe this is actually my last life here on Earth. The next one is actually going to be the spirit guiding people down here on Earth.
That probably will be.
Just because of all the knowledge that I've gained. I mean, as much as knowledge as my head holds, I swear I'm surprised it doesn't look like Megamind.
I feel like I just have to go through it a whole bunch of times still.
But now let's talk about your podcast before we run out of time, because we're almost out of time here. Tell people a little bit about the podcast, what you all cover, and everything like that.
Our podcast is called We're All Psychic, and we ask most of the time we interview guests. Sometimes we give lessons, or the guests themselves will give lessons about energy work, magic, psychic, Reiki, healing, divination, whatever you want to umbrella term energy work thing. And we give lessons, like a lot of them. And we have guests in every walk of life. We have professional psychic readers. We have your people who are learning. We have, our neighbors and our family. And we've had Misty's mom on the show as a guest. And we would love to have you, Phil. And the first thing we'll do is ask you the question, do you think we're all psychic? And you can answer it. But don't do it now.
Yeah.
Do it. You have to come and will you come be on our podcast?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I wanted to ask you in person.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. But,
as in person as we can get.
Yeah. Now, how long have you and Misty been doing this podcast?
I started it in 2019 in June. My friend Omega had suggested to me to start a podcast. She said, I hate talking on the phone, but I really like talking to the phone with you because your voice you're interesting to listen to. And I was like, a podcast? What's that? And she told me, and I was like, oh okay. But I really just listened to some. I was like, I'll try it. And I was like, well, what would I do it about? I thought, well, we're all psychic. That's what I think. So I'll do that. And I made the first podcast, and I made a few others. I did a couple interviews, and then just forgot, life took over. And then Misty was working. We used to listen to podcasts when she was working, and she was listening to spiritual podcasts, and she heard mine. And this was about 6 months after we had met. And mine only had about 6 episodes. I think maybe 3 downloads or something, and they pitched it to her. I guess because she's in Hartselle. I don't know why, but she got it, and she knew it was me. It was the first episode, or maybe it was an interview, because I don't know. I'm not sure. But she called me that night, and she says, Lisa, this is going to sound strange, but I get these messages. I should get messages. If I don't tell them, I go crazy, and I just can't have to tell you. I don't want to. Okay, I know it's weird that I'm calling you. I know. Blah, blah. I was like, what? What's the message? I was so excited. I was like, whoa, and I chill bumps all over. And she says, pursue the podcast. I was like, oh, how'd you know about the podcast? I haven't done anything with that in 6 months. And she said, I heard it. And she said, I got the message to tell you that. And I said, well, for 3 months, I've been sitting here thinking, what am I supposed to do with myself? Because my plans were not working out because of COVID. A lot of people's plans didn't work out because of COVID. And I was trying to figure out what direction to go in for weeks. It was torturing me. I get tortured a lot. I like to torture. I like the torture, I guess. The mental torture. What do I do? If I know what I'm doing, I'm okay usually, though. So and then she gave me that direction. She started doing podcasts with me. She's wonderful, and she kept showing up, and she kept doing them with me. And then she's so good, and she loved it, and she's wonderful. It makes me laugh, and we became really good friends over this. Ever since that was the summer of 2020. So. 2020. Yeah, so we've been fairly good friends since then.
Yeah, like me,
I've been friends over the podcast.
10 years, so off and on and everything. Things have come up to where family emergencies, financial emergencies,
Right.
where I've had to cut back. But I started a little over 10 years ago, just doing once a week, 30-minute shows. Just me talking about the paranormal because, again, being interested in the paranormal, I was like, why not do something to talk about? But I also got my inspiration from, and I don't know if you've ever heard of the show Coast to Coast AM.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got my inspiration from Art Bell.
Oh, wonderful.
And I said, this is what I want to do. And
I have a neighbor who loves that show.
And a lot of people say I got a voice for radio.
You
I always
do.
tell people I got a voice for radio, but nobody wants to see me do a live thing because nobody wants to
You'd
see
be
my
surprised.
nobody wants to see my ugly mug.
Well, your face on your picture is all oblong. It looks like you're an alien. You oblong.
Maybe
people.
I am.
Make people oblong. Are you oblong in person?
That kind of get before we wrap things up. I kind of want to talk about it because I think where I got my ability to deal with the darker entities is, believe it or not, on the exact day that I was born. That I was born, I think, in the morning, if I'm not mistaken. That afternoon, on the day that I was born, December 26, 1973, The Exorcist came out in theaters on that same exact day.
Very cool.
So that's why I always tell people Halloween is my Christmas.
I
love scaring the heck out of
I love
people.
Halloween too.
I love scaring the hell out of people. I mean, I literally have worked haunted houses to where I've had people in the fetal position. I've made a woman toss her phone 15 feet up in the air. I actually, and this one, it made me feel bad, but I was standing outside of my parents' house because I had set up my own little haunted house. And it was the end of the night. All the kids had pretty much come through and everything. So I was done scaring them and handing out candy. And I had taken off my mask, but I still had some makeup on. And these two ladies walked up with strollers. And I was like, I'm not going to scare them because they got little kids. I was like, I'm going to be nice about it. I took off my mask. I was like, I know they can see my face and everything like that. It ain't a scary mask. But somehow, one lady got so scared that she took off running and left her baby in the stroller behind. Luckily, her friend was there with the other stroller. And she's like, she got halfway down the street. She's like, come back. It's fine. It's fine. He's not going to scare us. But I felt bad. I was like, I'm sorry. I did not mean to scare her.
He's like, it's just me. I'm just a person.
And the little
I may
kid,
problem,
the babies were not scared. The babies were not scared of me, but she just said, fuck the kid. I'm leaving.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Little babies, and they can see right through you, huh?
But no, like I said, being born on the day The Exorcist came out in theater, I was like, that was a sign there for me to work in this field.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I was born on the day the Vietnam War ended in U.S.
Yeah.
Like the U.S. ended the whatever they did
Yeah.
on April 30th, 1975.
Yeah.
So it's also Beltane, yeah. But I
Yeah.
was born in the morning, so
Yeah.
kind of.
All right. So, tell everybody where they can find out more about you and the podcast.
You can go to www.we'reallpsychic.com and no apostrophe because the internet doesn't do apostrophes in URLs. So you can Google We're All Psychic podcast or We're All Psychic or just we'reallpsychic.com. And you can find places to listen there. I don't have a lot of information up yet because I just don't have enough time to really work on the website. I do all of it, and I work I work.
Yeah.
And Misty works, and she does.
This is my full-time
she does a
job,
lot.
basically. I mean, heck, I not only host the show, I'm also the producer of the show. I produce the commercial breaks. I produce all
That's
the
cool.
stuff for it. I do the booking, I do the promotions, I do the webmastering, and I do the voiceovers for the commercials and everything like that. So, I mean, it's a full-time job for me, but
That's cool.
I wouldn't have it any
That's
other
a great
way.
full-time job. That's a great full-time job. I would love to pick your brain as to how to do it.
Now, I have to
I'd
worry
really
about,
like to sit down with you and find that out.
No, I do have to worry about getting more listeners and advertisers and everything like that, so I can, because, I mean, there was a point in the time when I was doing the show that I came close to having Coca-Cola sponsor the show for $10,000 a year.
Wow. I just can't imagine what you crank out every day, but I could do it. It'd be fun.
Yeah,
2 hours a night, I could totally
5
do it.
days
It'd be fun.
show 5 days a week, 2
Yeah,
hours
that's a-
show. But I mean,
But
besides
every
that,
day, just putting it on, I don't know. I don't know if I could put those pants on. You know what Misty taught me, though? Misty taught me how to put the pants on every day when you got to get a show going.
But
As soon as we hit record, it just starts.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
when you do
Not every time is it like, yeah, do I feel that way? But afterwards,
Yeah.
I listen to them, and I love our guests, man. I love every guest we've had, every single
but,
one of them.
I mean, I figure, I want to say maybe, besides the 2 hours for each show 5 days a week, I maybe work 20 hours on everything.
Nice.
So it doesn't
Yeah.
take me long. It's a part-time job, but a full-time job, basically.
Yeah.
But I want to
Yeah.
thank you and Misty for coming on.
Thank you, Paranormal
Now-
Phil. I've really had a good time,
Now,
and I
do
really
you-
enjoyed speaking
do
with
all
you, and
do,
I'm so glad.
Do you all do readings real quick? I want to ask about that, and where can they find that service if you do so?
Oh, I work on Everclear, everclear.com. It's it's an app on your phone or tablet, or usually it's on the phone, I think, or you can go to the website. I can do chat readings. You can do phone readings. If you're local to my area, let me know. You'll find me. Everybody knows everybody here. Readings around here too. And it's on everclear.com. My link to, on we'reallpsychic.com. There's a link to my advisor services on Everclear.
Okay,
And I'm on Thrills too. I'm on thrills.com. I'll write you a song I'll write your song reading on Thrills. Lisa Russick, RUSCZYK, and website we'reallpsychic.com. So yeah, you can find me.
Again, thank you for
Good
coming
luck.
on the show and everything like that. So tomorrow night,
Thank you so much.
So tomorrow night we're going to be joined by my guest Pat Daly as we get into some technology and science. We're going to be talking about his book Spark, that talks about augmented reality game that a foster kid and a runaway build a friendship out of, but does the game have other ideas? We'll also get into other technology and science, and you can find all the links for him up on the Talking the Night website, talkingthenight.com. Also for tonight's guests and all my guests, up at the top there's banner ads. You click on those links, they're linked up to their website. You can find out all the information about them and everything like that. And there's so much more on there on the show's website, talkingthenight.com, story of the day, this day in history, where you can listen to the show live and recorded. And be sure to follow the show on all the show's social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, YouTube, LinkedIn. Of course, the show is live on Spreaker Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central Time. But you can also listen to the recorded shows and all of them on the show's website under radio show. And there's a Talking the Night archives there. But you can also listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Facebook Podcasts, which I learned through an email during the show that's going away on the July 3rd, so I have to take that off, but I'm sure I know there's other places that's being broadcasted or recorded on too. And then of course YouTube, and I do have on my YouTube channel videos. The last one I did was a ghost tour at the Fort Worth Stockyards, and it's up on the Talking the Night website under Talking the Night News. And of course, we'll have the Talking the Night newsletter coming pretty soon. But until tomorrow night, when I welcome my guest Pat Daly to the show as we talk about technology and science, until then, I shall see you on the dark side. Good night from Talking the Night.
Late at night,
Darkness has fallen. Turn on the radio, and you hear him talking. Listening to what he has to say, all about the paranormal and all